Hi guys, Russell here from homebrewrepublic.co.nz. Welcome to today's brew review. Today we're checking out the Muntons Milk Stout. Now Muntons is a new brand to our brew reviews. They're a US brand and this is from their flagship or their craft series range, so it's one of their premium products. Before we get into the brew, I wanted to start with a couple of quick stories. The first one's more of a question, which is why am I brewing a stout today? I've got a confession to make. I've never ever brewed a stout before, and I could probably count on one hand the number of times I've drunk a stout in the past. But stouts are a popular brew style, particularly among our own community and our own site. It's also International Stout Day on November 4th. So I wanted to lean into that and take the opportunity to give a stout a go. The next story, or again, question, depending on how you want to look at it, is more of a history lesson on where stouts come from. So if I step back, before stouts came porters. Porters came from 18th century England, and what they were was a beer style that was based on very dark brown malts and a very, very hoppy finish. The reason they were called porters is because that beer style was popular among a working group that were referred to as porters. Now what a porter was a person who carried loads around trading areas, markets, train yards, docks, shipyards, and that kind of thing. So basically a person who was employed to carry loads. As the popularity of porters grew, what we started to see was subcategories or sub-styles emerging from porters. One of the examples there is a Baltic porter, but another example is the stout. Now what the stout was originally thought to be was a stronger version of a porter, so potentially more body, certainly a higher alcohol, some bigger, some richer flavours. Although today I think that differentiation has probably been blurred. But what porters and stouts are both renowned for is dark, rich, roasted, smoky, complex flavours. Either way, that's what we're going to be giving a go today. So let's get back to this brew and check out the kit. This is the kit we're brewing, guys. It's the Muntons Milk Stout. It's from their flagship range and it's one of their premium products. Now, according to the description on the kit, this is what we're brewing. A creamy flagship milk stout with a smooth mouthfeel and low bitterness. This is a sealed box, so from what I can make out from the description, everything you need to get this brew fermenting is in here. So what this kit, and we'll check this out in a second, but what the box says this kit requires is Muntons malt extract, there's 2 cans in there, fermentous yeast, the SO4 English ale yeast, which packet of lactose, which has connotations, but it's not an ingredient I've ever worked with before, but it says here the unfermentable sugars provide a sweet back note and a creamy mouthfeel. A couple of things to note on this. IBU 225 to 275. So this is obviously an incredibly dark beer, which is what we would expect. Bitterness IBU out of a scale of 100, 27 to 38. So I would describe that as a really, really nice low to mid level of bitterness. So in that respect, certainly an easygoing brew. Too much talking. Let's open this kit up and see what's in there. Here's your kit here, guys. It is a sealed box. I'm going to open it carefully. So what I would say is that these are great gift boxes. Here we go. Man, this is awesome. Alright, what have we got here? Lactose, SO4 yeast, 2 cans of malt, comprehensive step-by-step instructions. That's pretty much it. Alright, so we've checked out the kit, but I'm not going to brew this as a kit. I'm going to brew it using a recipe approach, and I'm going to talk you through that. Before we talk about the recipe, I do want to step back a little bit and go, why am I brewing the Muntons kit? I got an email from one of our good customers. His name is Frank, and he shared with me that he'd been given a box of the Muntons Milk Stout as a gift. I think it was probably for his birthday, and he brewed it as part of a recipe. He took it down to his local homebrew club and it won best dark beer on the day. Now what Frank also told me is he said there wasn't a person who tried it that didn't like it. So in essence, was a really awesome brew. What Frank was also good enough to do was share with me the recipe that he used to make this brew. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to replicate Frank's recipe. Let's check out the other ingredients we're going to be using. The recipe is really simple. All we're really doing is adding 2 extra ingredients. The first one is Black Rock dark unhopped malt extract. Now that's going to do 2 things. Number one, it's going to lift the ABV. Now the target ABV on the brew, according to the pack over there, was 4%. What Frank told me with his recipe is he got 6.28%. This should account for around about 1 to 2% of that increase. Now the other thing this is going to do is really build up the body and really enrich the flavour. So according to this, the flavours that we're going to be bringing are roasted malt flavours, and obviously really suited to a dark ale. So we're building up the body and we're building up that roast flavour. There's only one more ingredient we're going to add. This is the final ingredient right here. In this case, it's raw sugar. Now, this was a specific suggestion from Frank, and what he said, and this is consistent with what I've seen online, is it's going to introduce a caramel tone to our brew. This is a 500 gram bag. I'm only going to add 150 grams to the brew. I've never done this before, so I'm going to go with what Frank suggested, but if this is something you've done before, if you particularly like caramel tones, yeah, feel free to vary that on your own accord. What we will talk about from here is process. Okay, we're going to get this brew mixed up. The brown sugar is going to go in right at the start for everything else, the 150 grams that is. The brew, once we've mixed it, the wort will be well over close to 40 degrees because we're using boiling water on the bottom to mix it up. So I'm going to put the brew into our fridge. I'm going to let the fridge bring the temperature down to pitching temperature. I'll talk through some of the specifics of temperature when we're pitching the yeast. We're not hopping this brew at all. So this is going to be an unhopped brew, which means we're basically going to put it in the fermenter, in the temperature control fridge and in the fermenter, and then let it do its thing. Fermentation will be over when our specific gravity is stable for at least 2 days. Now, irrespective, even if this happens earlier, i.e. at day 7, 8, 10, whatever, I always leave my brews in the fermenter for 2 weeks. It will never do you any harm to have a brew just sitting there once fermentation is complete. If anything, it's only going to improve the quality of your final product. From there, I will use finings. I will rack off into a bottling bucket. I do use a sediment filter in the bottling bucket. I bottle, I use carbonation drops, and then I advocate for bottle maturing at least 4 weeks. But I do always say that the longer you leave your brews, up to about 3 months, the better they'll get. At this point, I'm going to say too much talking, not enough brewing. Let's get this brew on, and I'll see you guys soon. Cheers. temperature controller is plugged in. Target temperature is set to hold at 19.5. Currently picking up 19.4 ambient temperature in the fridge. Here we are, team. Inside the fridge, ready to go. There's our yeast. Albeit the ambient temperature in the fridge is picking up at 19.5, the firm strip on the fermenter is still showing about 24, which is a little bit warm. So the instructions suggested pitching between 18 and 21, but we're in the fridge. It's going to keep cooling down overnight and it'll be in the right place tomorrow morning. So only thing to note is the ideal fermentation temperature range as per the packet is 15 to 20 degrees. We're going to leave us at 19.5, which is right at the upper end of that. I expect it'll be alright. Other than that, I'm going to get this lid off, get this yeast pitched, and that will be us for the night. Here we are, guys. She's ready to go. Yeast. All pitched. Alright, team, I'm going to get this closed up and we will be leaving it. I had to talk about process before. The only other thing I would say, assuming fermentation is complete, I talked about leaving this for 2 weeks. What I normally do is start checking gravity on day 10, and if on day 12 it's been confirmed it's complete, I start the process to prep for bottling. So what I'll do is I'll add finings, I leave another 24 hours, then I cold crash, and by the time I've done that for 24 hours, then it's 14 days, and away we go. So all that said, I'm going to get this lid back on. Hey guys, check that out. That definitely looks a bit different. Pretty cool though. Fair to say, we're fermenting. Hey guys, welcome back to the official taste test of our stout. To say that I am happy is probably an understatement. This is an awesome brew, and it's fair to say that even though this was the first stout I've ever made, I'm now feeling like I might be missing out my whole brewing life. So let's crack this open and check out what we got. Check it out. Guys, how does that look? That is absolutely incredible. Okay, the aroma is really, really rich. How I would describe this stout, the way we've done it, is a caramel milk stout or a caramel cream stout. The caramel notes are definitely really big notes coming off the top, but sort of the creamy molasses rich malt notes really backed behind that caramel tone, and it is super nice. As you can see, obviously a very, very rich dark colour, a beautiful head. The head itself is a caramel tone, and our flavour is exactly as we would have described. I find that caramel tone comes through really early on the front. Very rich molasses, coffee, roasted notes coming through behind, and in terms of our mouthfeel and our general flavour, a real creaminess to the brew. Like, it's super awesome. I think this came in at about 6.5%. Should have checked that before I came back on. In terms of age, this is now, as of today, 6 weeks in the bottle. So what's interesting is I did try this at 4 weeks, and I would have said I enjoyed it as much at 4 weeks as what I am now. Generally, I talk about noticing quite big improvements in the brew the longer it's been in the bottle. So it'll be interesting to see if this one improves, if I get that noticeable shift. But for now, I'm saying it's probably as good at 4 weeks as what it is now. It's really nice. Okay, International Stout Day. I think I might have had a faux pas earlier on in the video. I could have said the 4th of November, which would be wrong. So number one, International Stout Day this year, 2023, is Thursday the 2nd of November. What's important is not the date, it's actually the Thursday. So International Stout Day is the first Thursday of every November. So, happy International Stout Day. Now, I did talk about the fact quite openly that this was the first stout I've ever brewed. I have tried a couple of other homebrew stouts, and in fairness, the ones that I tried were really good. They were really easy drinking as well, but I think having made this now, I'm questioning why I haven't done so sooner. And I wouldn't have called myself a stout fan by any stretch, but yeah, this has really got me going. My neighbour makes one which in its own way is, in my mind, equally as good, and he does a chocolate coffee stout. Again, really easy, really nice drinking. What I would say is this is probably not, and I don't think stouts are meant to be anyway, is certainly not a session brew. I've been really enjoying this like at the end of a night, like as my nightcap, so to speak. Have a couple of pints of that to cap off an evening. It's, for me, that's a really, really nice way to drink this. I find this brew is more of a nurse it, sip it, enjoy it brew. Like I said, not a session brew, not really ideal for Sunday afternoons on the deck. The other thing I thought about, just in the way that we did this, like this box here, we used Black Rock liquid malt extract, so we didn't need to do that. This box actually could have been brewed by itself. I'm unfamiliar with this kit, and I'm not really familiar enough with the stouts or the dark malts to try and envisage what this would have been like without the malt extract, the additional malt extract we put in, that is. If I go by what's on the box, I think this probably would have had, not in a bad way, but a little bit less body. We probably would have brought out the creaminess a little bit more. I think by putting in the Black Rock malt, what we've done is really built up the richness and probably the body. I think it's really worked. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying those were the differences. The other key thing we did was we used the sugar to bring through the caramel tone. I was really surprised at how strongly that caramel tone has come through. It's the first time I've ever used sugar like that, and I guess what it illustrated to me is how little is required to really set off a caramel tone. And if there's one learning, that's probably one thing I would take away, understanding the richness of this brew. And so if the level of sugar we used has created the strength of tone over such a rich flavour profile, if I was going to do that in other brews, I would be cautious of how much I used. Yeah, like I said, this is, I go two ways on what to call it. I've been jokingly calling it the Frank Stout, which is the name of the gentleman who was good enough to share his recipe, and having now tried this, I can certainly understand why everyone at his homebrew club enjoyed it. If I was to give it a more descriptive name that links to what it is, I would describe it as a caramel milk stout, and I think it beautifully fits that description. Yeah, it really got the molasses in that taste. Okay, all that said, let's talk about what I've had going on. We've got our new Facebook community, Homebrew Republic Kit Brewers. It's a community that's dedicated to kit brewing. Whether you're wanting to get into kit brewing, or whether you're an experienced or seasoned kit brewer, it's about good banter, good people, and talking about brewing with kit brewing. So if you like the sound of that, jump on in, check it out. We also published last month the Essential Kit Brewers Guide. We took everything we know, but we combined it with another, 10, 30, 40, 50, like lots and lots of research online to add into that. We also shared the guide with some of our customers to really test whether the content added value, to look for anything being missed, but also pick up some of their tips and tricks as well. So we've done everything we can to make it a really valuable resource for kit brewing, covering everything you can do from a process perspective and all the things you can think about from ingredient variations. What have we got going on? We've been brewing up a storm lately. The next review that will come after this is most likely going to be an amber IPA. Now that in its own right, it was a big, really full-bodied brew, but I've been really enjoying that in quite a different way, so I'm looking forward to dropping that review. I've talked about this one before, but we did a pale ale and an IPA alongside each other, New England IPA. I've done 2 more of the Black Rocks bag and box range. They've been bottled now. Did the pale ale, did the IPA, and just put down the other day a Pilsner Blonde. So yeah, fair to say, brewing up a storm. All that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to say happy International Stout Day. If you liked listening, if this added value, give us a thumbs up. It always helps. Subscribe, you know the deal. All that said, I'm going to say thanks for tuning in. Cheers.
Cheers.